How's it going, everybody? So in this video I want to talk about my experiences and realizations as a personal trainer, and more specifically what I've learned over the last year and a half when I switched to working as a personal trainer at a commercial gym. So for those who don't know, I'm sure most people on this channel don't know because I don't really talk much about it on this channel. I've been a personal trainer since around 2013, 2014, somewhere around there. And I mostly worked as an independent personal trainer. So I had started off in a commercial gym working, fulfilling my internship at Blast Fitness, which at the time was kind of like a continuation of Bally's Total Fitness. And I got certified in early January 2014, something like that. Anyway, I worked as an independent trainer all the way up until 2020 when the pandemic hit. I don't know why, but when the pandemic hit, I told myself I was going to prove everybody wrong. Everyone was all talking about how their jobs was going in the shitter and, you know, the world was going to an end and all this crazy shit. And I told myself, I'm going to take all these people's job. Because, you know, everyone was like, oh, you know, gyms are closing down, personal training is going online. Everybody thought that there would be no jobs, no clients available. No one was going to sign up for personal training at a gym because of the pandemic. That's what people were saying. And I was like, screw all that. I'm going to try anyway. So I did exactly that. And I'd never really worked at a commercial gym before that, except for when I worked for Blast Fitness a long time ago when I first started. So, yeah, and it was interesting. You know, of course, the first couple weeks were kind of rough. And generally they are working at a commercial gym because you just started as a new trainer. Your sales team at these commercial gyms, they feed you clients rather than, you know, as an independent trainer, I had to market myself and get clients on my own. So over time, my schedule started to fill up. I had a lot of people that were very hesitant and freaking out about the, you know, pandemic thing, sanitizing their hands, wearing gloves, trying to stay 6 feet apart, you know. And of course, you know, I respected everybody and their, you know, preferences and things as rightfully as you should. And so anyway, it was a really interesting experience. So there's a lot of things that I learned though, as a commercial trainer versus working as an independent trainer. So as an independent trainer, the majority of my clients are a lot more open to, or are a lot more committed to and dedicated to the nutritional guidelines that I set out for them, and they would follow the exercise protocols that I set for them. And they had a higher tendency to actually follow through with my advice and my programs. You know, if I told them to do cardio in their spare time, they would do it. If I told them to, you know, remove carbs from their diet or something, they would do it. Now, tracking food was always something that most people would have trouble with. People, no matter who it was, for the life of them, found it very hard to track food. And I've always noticed the one thing people won't do is track their food. And so that's a very rare thing. Anyway, work and motivation was relatively easy for my independent clients. But yeah, so working at a commercial gym was fascinating because I was no longer working with clients that already knew who I was. Because most of my independent clients, they knew who I was through social media. They knew who I was through word of mouth and stuff like that. Working at a commercial gym, no one knew. Well, you know, some people have heard of me or knew who I was, surprisingly, I guess, you know, locally, but most of them didn't. They just kind of signed up for a personal trainer because they wanted to lose some fat or they wanted to learn the ropes of how fitness works and stuff like that. most of them really wanted results, obviously, or they wanted to make a commitment, and they knew if they signed up for training, they were paying for it, and they had someone to help them, that they would be more likely to follow through. And so lots of average people, I deal with a lot of professionals. I have, interestingly, I've been training nurses. I've been training, I have a client who's a professor in data analysis. She actually conducts meta-analysis, and she is on the peer review board for scientific research. I have multiple clients who work in psychology or counseling. I have one who's a professor of sociology. So lots of professionals, people who work professional jobs, and they hardly have any time for fitness and stuff, right? Some of them more than others, depending on what they actually do with their degrees. So wide variety of people. I've dealt with I've trained school teachers, lots of retired people will sign up for training. I have one of my clients who actually broke his femur and tore his ACL, and we have him back squatting now on a regular basis with no pain, because I helped strengthen his body over time. He used to have lower back pain until I got him to do a regular stretching routine that's actually effective, and regular exercise. His back pain is no longer there. I trained a professor of, what is it called? It's like a PhD in some kind of, not religious studies. I forgot the word for it, damn it. But, basically, philosophy and religions and stuff. Theology, professor of theology, I believe it was. And he was 70-something years old, and helped him with a lot of his issues, worked a lot with nutrition and improving his blood panels, his blood markers. So really awesome. A lot of my clients, they had goals of improving their blood markers. So things like their HDL cholesterol, they want to improve. They wanted to lower their triglycerides, lower their hemoglobin A1C. And that was always fun, because I'm one of the very few trainers probably in the world that have actually studied these things enough and know how to use nutrition and exercise to modify those parameters. Obviously not in any way, shape, or form pretending to be a doctor, functioning as a doctor, but actually helping them by putting through exercise programs like interval training and circuit training to modify those blood markers, and then using, helping to give them, guide them through basic nutritional protocols, give them the information they need to know on how to actually improve those blood markers through nutrition. So anyway, very fascinating. So some of the main things I've learned is a large amount of people are going to sign up for training. They're going to pay hundreds of dollars a month for training, and then not even show up. Actually, not a lot of people do this exactly, but there are more people than I'd like, and it's very discouraging. I've had people who would sign up and they were overweight and they really need to lose a lot of weight, and they would no-show me on their first session, wouldn't call me or anything like that, and then I eventually get them into the gym, and we go through a workout, maybe a couple workouts, and it was really nice, didn't even give them a hard workout, gave them a workout that was fun, that made them sweat a little bit, but wasn't going to make them incredibly sore. And they told me, I love the training so much, and then they just fall off the face of the earth. Those clients are hard to work with. You got to really encourage them to come to the gym. You've got to contact them a lot, and almost really beg, not beg them, but nag them to come in and get their workout in, because they're paying for it, right? And typically those clients themselves find it very hard to just show up to the gym, to even contact you a lot of times. And if they do no-show you, to explain, hey, well, what actually happened, you know? Communication is generally an issue with these people, or it's challenging. And getting them to follow a diet program is obviously like not the top priority. Because it's hard for them to even come to the gym, right? What makes you think that they're going to follow a nutrition program if they can't even come to the gym? But these people that no-show you and they're that inconsistent and that are not open and transparent with communication, they're rare. But it happens. And they'll stick out and make it seem worse than it really is. But I would say 1 out of 10 clients would be that bad. But they do exist, and they do stick out a lot. But more commonly, you'll have people that will come to the gym and they'll just they'll go along with the workouts as long as it's not kind of like intruding on their normal habits too frequently. So, you know, if you have people that will come to the gym and it's not an incredibly hard schedule for them to follow, like if they get off at work at 4 and you have them come to the gym at 6 or 6:30, like generally they'll find that pretty easy to sustain because they have some time to kind of like relax after work and stuff in between. But if you have them come to the gym right after work, oh my God, like obviously that's going to be incredibly hard for them to sustain. So scheduling is a big thing, as long as the workouts and the nutrition and stuff is not an inconvenience. But here's a big thing that I've realized is people find it most people find it very hard to follow through with a nutrition program. So if you get them to come to the gym, like that alone is golden. If you can get them to come to their personal training sessions, that is light years ahead of most people. A lot of people find it hard to stay consistent with personal training sessions, okay? Even once a week, come to the gym with you. And honestly, knowing what I know about habit building, the more frequently you can actually commit to a habit, the easier it becomes. It's not the other way around. People think, oh, if I can just go to the gym once a week, that's a step in the right direction. And sure, some exercise is better than none, but habit building is all about routines. And if you can come to the gym 3 times a week on the same day, that makes it easier over time because you're building the neuroplasticity. Anyway, your brain doesn't like inconsistency, if that makes sense. The more inconsistent you are, the worse and worse that inconsistency is going to get. And people don't realize that because it's hard at first to build those habits. But, so yeah, getting them to come to the gym alone is a really great thing, once a week, right? Getting them to do exercise in their own time can be a challenge. So I've actually, I would say with my normal regular clients, I would say, maybe half of them, 50, I would say 40 to 60%, something like that. Let's just say half. Half of my regular clients find it very easy to do their own routine in their own time. And usually those people who will do homework, like I write them an exercise routine. I write them a program where they do, upper body, lower body, or something to that extent. Some of them have full body multiple times a week. They'll go in, they'll do their weightlifting in their own time, and then they will do cardio. Typically, those people who follow the programs I write them generally have very little issue following the nutrition program, which the nutrition program I'll get into a little bit later. But out of those people who do their workouts in their spare time, I would say 10 to 20% of them will do the homework, but then won't be able to follow the nutrition. Now, the other 50% of my clients will not do the homework I write for them. I'll write them a program. They don't care. They don't think it's important. They don't care whether it's important or not. Generally, and then, they'll come to your training sessions usually for, 4 weeks in a row, and then they'll fall off for a while, then they'll come back. These people just lack consistency all around. But there are a lot of them who will come to training sessions consistently, but they will not do the programs I write for them. So an interesting thing that I've noticed, though, and we'll get to this actually. So I think that I've recognized kind of like effective coaching versus ineffective coaching and what builds consistency. So the nutrition thing is the most inconsistent. So you can get people, so if you can get, like the first level is getting people to come to their training sessions that they're already paying for. There are people who will not. They will pay that money for a whole year, like $200 a month or something for training sessions, and not even show up to the training sessions, which is terrible because then you as a trainer don't get paid, and they're paying a bunch of money, and all that money is just going to the gym, and they're paying for nothing. Maybe for paying for a feeling of they're doing some productive when they're really not. If you just get those people to come to their training sessions from a client habit perspective, that is the first step. If you could do that, then that's the first step. Just getting to do that can be a challenge sometimes. Because a lot of people, they won't come and you ask them why, and usually it comes down to, I just didn't feel like it. They don't know why. And it's just because they just don't care enough. And you have to really get them into that habit. So after that, the second level is getting them to, so once you got them committed to come in their training sessions, now it's the homework. When you write them programs to do in their spare time, programs meaning, Monday you do squat, lunges, and a deadlift variation. Let's just say 5 sets of 5 or 5 sets of 10 at a rate of perceived exertion of 8 or something, or whatever. You write a program for them, then, Tuesday you do, Monday's upper body, Tuesday's lower body, whatever, okay? And then you do cardio on top of that, and you have a stretching routine, whatever. And I write all my programs specific to the client. That's what personal training is all about. I love that. Everyone does need a different thing, depending on their motivation, their personality type, and their physical needs, and their exercise history. So the second level is get them to follow that. Get them to follow their routine. If they can do their homework, come to the gym and follow your program, that's the second level. And it's weird. You can tell people how important it is to follow a routine, until you're blue in the face. And people, it's weird. They'll come to their personal training sessions and they'll be like, oh my God, that workout was so hard. You made me sore. I'm out of breath. I'm tired. Oh my God. And it's like, well, they're only coming to doing a workout once a week. So they're not doing exercise frequently enough for their body to adapt so that it doesn't tear their body up. If you did the programs I wrote for you in the spare time, you wouldn't be sore. You wouldn't be tired. Your body would adapt. You become more fit. And these workouts wouldn't wipe you out as bad because you adapt, and they complain about how sore they get and stuff like that, which tends to be a reason why people don't want to commit to coming to their training sessions. It's like, well, if you just followed the program I wrote for you, you would be better. If you're sore, come and do the exercise routine. Just, go through the motions and stuff and don't go heavy. But it seems like, and this is very common with a lot of different people, and it's weird. People who just aren't used to exercise, they don't realize soreness happens because you're not adapted. And the only way to get adapted is to do more frequent exercise. And it's like they can't believe that if they're sore, it's because they need to do more. Oh, I'm sore because my body's dying. It's a really bad thing or something. So I was so sore that I just didn't even get out of bed for a whole week. And it's well, that's why you're so sore. And that's why every time you come to our training session, you get sore. They're oh, well, I did a little bit of walking and it didn't help. I'm yeah, because you need to do weight training. And they're oh, well, for 2 weeks, I tried the program you wrote for me and I'm still sore. It's yeah, give it 4 weeks, It can be very hard to get people to do these routines because, number one, they get sore. They don't realize the benefits, and the soreness will go away if they just followed my advice. And so they just stay in that kind of cycle of just not getting anywhere. And the biggest thing is these people will not get anywhere because the only time they exercise is with the trainer. They'll do the lunges, they'll do whatever you write for that you do for them, like squats and press once a week. and they won't really follow a nutrition program, and then they might do a little bit of exercise. They'll come to the gym and they'll just wing it. They'll do some light curls or something, and maybe some walking on the treadmill. They won't do the programming right for them, and this is a lot of different people will do this, and then it's like their body doesn't change, and then when they come into their training sessions, their squat form doesn't really improve. They still don't know how to lunge. It's been 10 months of working with them, and they still can't do a proper lunge, squat, or chest press. And it's like every time they train with you, you're just showing them form. And you haven't even really put them through a real workout yet because they're still learning form. And they're still learning form because they only train with you once a week, and they don't do these movements in their spare time. And, these people, if they really cared, then they would do something about it. So maybe they just don't care typically, but, because they feel like they're being productive. But as a trainer, the most disheartening thing is knowing what progress looks like, and knowing that your clients are paying for that progress. And as a trainer, you're trying to get them to the progress, but they just won't do the actions necessary in their spare time. And it's really hard. It's really disheartening as a trainer who really cares about their clients. And it's like you can't just be like a drill sergeant. You can't just be like, hey, do this, because then that's typically what causes people to not come to training, when you try to really insist that they do something. So it's very hard to just watch these people kind of just never really improve. So that's one of the biggest realizations. And so getting them to fall into an exercise routine can be challenging outside of your training sessions. And it seems to be partly a personality thing and partly a coaching thing, and I'll get to that here in a second. So if you can get them to, number one, come to the training sessions consistently, then number two, follow the exercise program in their spare time consistently. Now what you do is part 3, which is nutrition. Nutrition is really number one as far as results are concerned. If people just follow an effective nutrition protocol, their weight loss will happen regardless of exercise. Their health will improve regardless of exercise. Their energy will improve regardless of exercise. And typically, if someone is willing to follow a consistent nutrition protocol, I have found that those are the people that will do everything else you tell them to do. They will come to your training sessions consistently. They will follow your exercise protocol consistently. But the number one most groundbreaking thing about personal training is seeing how many people are resistant to following a targeted, specific nutrition protocol. Okay, I find it really mind-boggling how on YouTube and these fitness communities and health communities, evidence-based practitioners say restrict calories, track your macros, blah blah blah, and that's the golden standard. And they'll take a shit on keto diets, they'll take a shit on paleo diets, low fat, low carb, whatever. And it's they say, oh, we're not shitting on these diets. We're just saying that calories are the most important thing, and that's why these diets work. The thing is, nobody wants to track their calories. No one wants to even just log their food without even thinking about calories. Literally, my approach for a long time was telling clients, yeah, just write down what you're eating, Don't worry about anything else, just write down what you're eating. Log it in Chronometer, Sometimes they'll use MyFitnessPal. I'm like, yeah, that's cool too. Log it, whatever. Just log your food. No one will do it. Sometimes they'll do it for a week or two, maybe a couple days out of the week every now and then. People will not log their food. That is in-game. Okay? Most people have trouble even coming to their training sessions. And then if they do, doing the exercise program you write for them in their spare time. But the one thing people have the most trouble doing is logging their food. Okay? So that's like stuff that pro bodybuilders do, fitness athletes do. A very small minority of people that come to the gym actually log their food. Okay? I'm telling you that right now. Now, I'm overgeneralizing. I'm sure there's a lot of people that do, but it's not the vast majority, and it's definitely not the vast majority of clients I've seen training in commercial gyms. And in independent training, too. Independent training, people will follow a keto diet. They will follow a paleo diet. They'll do that. They'll remove the whole food group, and they'll get good results doing it usually, probably because they're restricting calories, but they won't track their food. So, as a trainer, seeing what people are willing to do and what people are not willing to do, you have to make protocols and programs that are designed to get people to follow the program. Because this is the biggest epiphany I've had. I've been studying the science of health, nutrition, exercise. I have textbooks on programming that I've invested hours of my life in, days, weeks. I've invested so much time and energy learning. Like, I have all these scientific studies about nutrition and exercise. No one cares. I have not one time had anybody ask for the scientific evidence. Not even my clients who their profession revolves around science. The nurses I've trained. And I've been like, no one cares about my science. Why? And it's like the internet will make you think that the majority of people track their calories, and if you're not tracking your calories, you're not evidence-based. The majority of people on the internet will ask for studies in the comments, usually because they're heavily invested in like veganism or keto, and if you say something that's against their beliefs, they're not asking for science because they legitimately care about the science. They're asking for science to discredit you in their head, okay? Because they're like, oh, where's the study? What you're saying is not backed by the evidence that I follow. and then you send them a study, like, oh, that study's not good enough, And if you're actually into science, it's a different ballgame. But on a practical level, no one gives a shit about science. And generally, most people don't even, they won't even do the shit that you tell them to do. So, my approach has been, first and foremost, eat whole foods. Come to your training sessions first. Then exercise in your spare time and eat whole foods. And I always start with nutrition first. Just eat whole foods, remove junk. I will give them a food pyramid. And it is a low-carb food pyramid, but I allow for things like berries and fruits and stuff. Just removing a lot of the starchy carbohydrates. And I tell them, and added fats. I've evolved because I know on an effective level, especially if they're already going to remove carbs, then they'll also remove the added fats. Like in keto land, we talk about like eating butter and shit like that. I tell them, look, don't eat butter, don't eat the olive oil. If you do cook, from a health perspective, cook with cook with butter and stuff like and animal fats. But if you really want to lose weight, remove the added fats and the added carbs. And then if you do eat carbohydrates, target them around your workouts. And try to stick to things like potatoes, sweet potatoes, and whole food carbohydrate sources. But overall, removing the added fats is going to remove most of the calories, and removing carbs that you don't need as well. And then obviously you monitor how they feel and how they sleep and stuff over time. And if they are having trouble with sleeping, that indicates too high of a caloric deficit. So then have them add back in a little bit of carbohydrates or something. And that's usually where food tracking comes in. I've had clients that have horrible sleep problems. They are, losing muscle and not losing fat. They're training really, really hard and their brain is kind of like just all over the place and overwhelmed. And these people are typically under-eating food and under-eating protein. I find tracking food is most important for those people who are under-eating. because they develop health problems as a result. And when you try to put them through a training program, they'll pass out on squatting, and they'll, have a lot of issues maintaining their fitness. Even people who are used to an exercise program, if they're under eating because they're just so obsessed with losing weight or whatever, their whole life shatters around them. And so in order to get someone to adhere to an exercise program, there is a lot involved. If they have all this stress from outside, they have trouble maintaining their nutrition and maintaining sleep. And then when you tell them, hey, just eat more protein, they're like, no, I can't because I work all day and blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, keep cans of tuna at your desk. And they're like, oh, I would, but I just forget. It's like, bro, just if you have the tuna there, you'll remember. They're like, no, I can't because I forget. It's like, doing the program's not the problem. It's them just allowing themselves to go through with it. It's crazy. So I don't know exactly how to explain all of the adherence issues people have. It's just insane. People, they come to you, they pay you money, they want to freaking lose weight, they have all these goals, and you tell them everything they need to know. I know everything. I don't know everything. I'm wrong on a lot of things. But I am the trainer. I'm one of the very few trainers who've actually been studying this shit for a long time. I've been training people for how many years now? 8 years now, something like that. I give them the protocols they need. I know how to achieve your goals. If you follow these protocols, you will get your results. But it doesn't matter. No one cares about the science. No one cares about the protocols. A lot of people will not follow the protocols, half the people. So it's you can have the most perfect freaking protocol ever. Everything, you can have the most science-based protocol, right? Exercise program, like the world champion exercise program, world champion nutrition, and you just fucking follow my advice, you will fucking get results. But the problem is not how perfect your shit is. The problem is a lot of people will not fucking do it. So that is what the trainer's real job is. Trainer's job is not to necessarily to educate them. I mean, that's part of it. The biggest obstacle that trainers have and their main function is to figure out the person's psychology, and based on the type of person they are and how their brain works, find a way to get these people, not necessarily the results, but get them to develop the habits necessary to create these results for themselves. That is the biggest obstacle. And that was the biggest change working at a commercial gym. Because as an independent trainer, most of these people they would come to me because they're inspired already. They already know my protocols and programs. They know what to expect coming in. But, at a commercial gym, these people, first of all, are signed up by a sales team that if you don't have a good relationship with your sales team, they're told all this stuff at the first consultation, the first training program, the first training sessions ran by your sales team, and it's usually completely different from what you're going to be doing. And they come into you and you're like, hey, we're going to do squats and deadlifts today. They're like, what? So that's the biggest thing is so here's what I've kind of figured out is kind of like a more effective approach, right? So I have noticed the clients that I give them an exact nutrition protocol to follow. Not taking the place of a dietitian or something and writing out your meals and shit. But giving them a food pyramid and telling them exactly what to do and what not to do. And constantly reaffirming that during the training sessions. And then, that is the first thing, is people need exact protocols to follow, and you need to be very sure of it and be very specific. And it's kind of unfortunate, because when you are into health science, everything's nuanced, okay? You know that there's a lot of different ways of building muscle. 5x5 powerlifting program will build muscle, but so will a 3x10 machine-based program. Same thing with cardio. High-intensity interval training will improve your aerobic capacity, but so will a long, steady-state, low-intensity exercise program. And as far as nutrition, a low-carb diet will do it, and so will a high-carb diet, provided calories are equated, yada yada. Okay? So, but these people, they don't want, it's like, no matter what they want to hear, I notice the people that I give them all this information. If they're a highly intelligent individual who works in a field that requires that type of, if their brain works that way, they can handle all the nuance and still follow through with a protocol. But I have definitely found the more nuanced I make it for people, oftentimes the harder it is for them to follow through. But you know something? I even people that I do give a specific protocol to and I make it very clear on what they need to do, even them a lot of times will have trouble following through with it. A lot of times it just has to do with, and I hate to say it, but, maybe the level of maturity. Maturity, I think, might be one thing. But I think that there's probably some very deep psychological and emotional things that go on with certain people that need to be addressed fundamentally. Otherwise, it doesn't matter what you tell them. But, so that's the first thing though, is being very specific and telling them, look, if you do this, you will get this result. But even that doesn't seem to really always work. But that seems to be a factor. It's like, look, just, remove these excess calories and this and that, and just do this exactly, and you'll be good to go. For exercise programs, telling someone, the truth, like, hey, you just need to come in on a consistent basis and do a weighted squat movement, a weighted lunge movement, a weighted chest press movement, a weighted overhead press, a weighted row, a weighted lat pull down. As long as you get those movements in on a regular basis, and you just go, lift weight that's challenging, but not to failure, you're going to get better at these movements. Your form is going to improve, which is going to help us get better sessions in. You're also going to build muscle, which burns extra calories on the side. You're going to burn calories doing the workout, and you're going to get way better results, be way healthier. Your body's going to move better, all the awesome stuff. And it doesn't matter what type of squat, what type of chest press, just do these movements every day. And you can write it out for them, 5 sets of 10, any kind of squat, any kind of chest press, whatever. But the problem is they look at that and they're like, oh shit, there's too many options. I don't know what to do. And it's like, they don't need a specific program to get results. But from a psychological standpoint, they won't even go into the gym because it's overwhelming to them. And, on a practical level, it's really freeing to say, hey, it doesn't matter what you do as long as you get these movements in. You can do it on a machine, you can do it with dumbbells, barbells, whatever. But because they are not a trainer, they don't really go to the gym very often, they don't know what to do, they need something specific for their mind for adherence. So, the biggest thing though is getting them into a routine. It's like jumping through hoops to figure out what's going to get them to be consistent. Some people need more aggressive coaching. They need consistent, almost nagging, hey, get in the gym, blah blah blah. Some people need more an aggressive style, hey, if you don't do this, you are going to regress. You're going to get fatter or something, Some people need more a gentle approach, hey, yeah, just come to the gym, and just enjoy the workout and you'll be good. You'll be okay. It's easy, it's just get in the routine. Once you get in the routine, it'll become second nature, Some people are really, really busy, and it's not that they have any other issues. They're just really busy, and they just need constant reminding and encouragement, and they'll come in the gym. Other people are not busy at all, and they're just, I hate to say it, but some people are just lazy. Some people just are lazy, and they just don't feel like it. And you got to get them, maybe make exercise fun for them, make them understand, the funness and the mental benefits and the benefits and well-being. So it is crazy. So another thing that, it's just like a very complicated thing. So another thing that I noticed is there's not a lot of people that are looking for shortcuts. And maybe that's because a lot of people don't really care enough. And that's might be why so many people have trouble just coming to their sessions or doing the workouts in their spare time outside of the sessions. And that's definitely why so many people find it hard to follow a nutrition program. Because people don't want it bad enough. And so they're not looking for supplements that will, make them burn fat and shit like that. But I usually tell people most supplements only work through increasing heart rate, yada yada. So I've only had one client that I can remember who would, they do like these weird surgeries on themselves, getting implants, like bicep implants and stuff like that. And what else? They would send me pictures of supplements that they found. I don't even know where. And they're, muscle accelerating supplements. And then you look up the ingredients and they're like diuretics and stuff that have no actual benefit for muscle growth or anything like that. And you tell them, hey, look, there are some supplements that work, but this supplement is just a waste of money. I hope you didn't pay much money for that, right? And that, the very few people that will be into that, like, this person, I think, is just an individual thing, because they just didn't want to train with me after I told them that the supplement was bullshit. They didn't want to hear the reality. But again, it's like, I had this client always showing up to training pretty consistently, but didn't really have a lot of energy and motivation to put forth in our sessions. And then wouldn't follow a nutrition program, wanted to get like meal preps and all sorts of things. And it's like, just, don't make it too complicated. Just eat enough protein, reduce your, the amount of like, junk food that you eat and stuff like that, and keep coming to your training. And they couldn't just eat the protein, vegetables, and fruits. They're like, oh, fuck, like, no, I just find it's hard for me to eat and this and that. A lot of times people say, oh, I want to get big and muscular. And then they also want to lose fat. And so they have conflicting goals. And so they'll starve themselves trying to lose fat, and then they wonder why they're not gaining muscle. Or else, they want to gain muscle and whatnot. And they'll be getting stronger and they'll be gaining muscle. But then they wonder why they're not losing fat. And it's like, well, because you didn't say that was a main goal. So we're prioritizing the muscle gain, right? And you can gain muscle and lose fat at the same time. It's really crazy. So overall, there's other things I've learned too. I'll maybe make a part 2 about it, but basically, as far as all this is concerned, the main thing is adherence and regular exercise in general at a relatively high intensity, and getting someone to just follow a basic healthy nutrition program that emphasizes some form of caloric restriction without actually instructing them to restrict calories. And that's why a paleo diet seems to work so well, because it is lower in added fats and it's lower in carbohydrates and it emphasizes protein. Keto diet is, people get bamboozled into eating more fat and this and that, and it doesn't help people very much. And you got to worry too much about salt. It's more restrictive to a certain, you could say, than paleo. Training programs, I for a long time was a zealot. I was really into 5x5, Mark Ripito. You got, as long as you squat, bench, and deadlift, you're gonna lose weight, which is funny. And obviously I'm smart enough to know you can't just do barbell training and lose weight, but the main thing is when you do barbell training, that shit is excruciating, and it will make your body change in a short period of time if you've never done it before. You will lose fat because of how intensive the exercise is during the workout. You'll burn calories. You'll gain muscle, and strength fast as hell if you're doing a 3x5 program on a consistent basis with barbells, squat, bench, deadlift, whatever. Put on muscle, you'll lose body fat. More muscle means more caloric burn. Your body is going to be in such a state of shock that it's going to be burning more calories afterwards. So that is obviously very important, but it shouldn't be the main thing you emphasize as a personal trainer, because it can be very hard to have fun with your workouts if all you're doing is squat, bench, and deadlift on a regular basis. And so I would also have people do the rower, which is like the Concept 2 rower you see in CrossFit and stuff like that, indoor rowing competitions. And superset that with burpees. I do circuit training for fat loss, high intensity interval training circuits. And that works really well. People have a lot of fun. They get a hardcore burn from doing that. So it really increases adherence when people are just killing themselves from training, even though it's not the most effective way to do things. That's why CrossFit's so popular. But yeah, so for a long time, I just would have people, every time they come to me, squat, bench, and deadlift. And usually it's because they won't do that in their spare time. So we just spend a lot of time doing it, during our training sessions. And I found actually people tend to adhere to that pretty easily, I guess because it's so easy for them. It's not a huge commitment. But after a while, people get burnt out on the, basic barbell training exercises, and people wonder why they don't just, why they need a trainer for that. But, people are so scared of squatting and benching on their own usually that they won't do it in their spare time. They're like, oh shit, I don't want to squat on my own time. What if I fall and die? Even though that won't happen if they set the safety bars up right. So, adherence to training with a personal trainer requires that it's called playing the game. In personal training, that's what we call it, playing the game. Basically, they don't need new exercises every time, and they don't need a personal trainer to be there when they squat and bench. But you've got to make them feel like you got to provide something to them that makes them feel like personal training is valuable. So when you have a certification, this is the other thing, is how much bullshit's in certification programs that is counterproductive, like doing single leg squats on a Bosu ball and, doing a curl on one leg and shit like that. Doesn't really get people fat loss and muscle gain results effectively. It's not even important for any of that. But the thing is, if you tell people the truth that, you just need to restrict calories and track your food and eat adequate protein, 1 gram per pound of body weight, and just lift heavy weights on squat, bench, deadlift, whatever, do a little bit of cardio, and that's all you need. That's so easy to do. Literally, if you just follow the right advice, it's a very simple thing. You don't need a trainer once you've learned the form and everything. After 3 months of training with a personal trainer and you just know what to do and you actually do it, you don't really need much else. The problem, though, is that's exactly first of all, obviously, people won't actually do these things on their own. So a trainer's main job is to get people to just do these things, right? That's the thing. People won't do it no matter how simple it is. But the other thing is people want to think that exercise is more complicated than it really is. So they want to learn a bunch of crazy body weight training things, 50,000 different exercises to do for your core stability training, core balance training, core power training. They want to do upside down leg raises with a balance on a stability ball from yoga with a band around their armpit. People want these complicated, crazy freaking exercises. And so NASM is really pumping those out in their textbooks and shit. That's almost the entirety of getting a NASM certification, is learning complicated, crazy shit that people don't really need to know. But let's see. But they don't really need that. But putting people through novel exercises is a part of adherence. putting people through circuit training and stuff like that, but then also doing the things that are most effective. That's how you keep things fun. So I found the most consistent combination of things that gives people a balance of results and adherence is pretty, it's pretty cool. And it's, I guess kind of what what I do, I guess. I don't know. So here's what I've seen. So first of all, teach people squat, bench, deadlift, and the basic movements. And when you do a workout, I'll start them off with something relatively intense as a warm-up. Burpees, work them up to doing as many burpees as possible within like 3 or 5 minutes. And that is a good warm-up. I start off with the stretching. I have something we call Wolfgang special stretch. It's like a walk out to like a downward facing dog, kind of like a yoga pose. And we'll do with like a toe touch, and then maybe add a squat, and we'll do like 9 or 10, like 5 to 10 repetitions as a stretch, warm up, dynamic stretch type of thing. Get their body kind of like loose and limber. Then, do 20 body weight squats to warm the body up and get some blood flowing, while also burning some calories and getting some, blood flowing, sweating type of thing going on, so they feel like they're actually working out. Then reverse lunges, then maybe some push-ups, depending on their fitness level. A lot of people can't do push-ups. Then burpees, 20 to 40 burpees, or as many burpees as possible within a certain time frame. It just depends on their fitness level. And that alone, just the warm-up, gives them the effective training where they're like, they're sweating, they're working hard, they're out of breath, and you're burning calories, and you've warmed them up. So that's great on the practical level, on the warm-up level, the calorie level, the exertion level. They need to feel like, I'm actually getting a workout with this guy. And then they're also improving their body's flexibility and mobility. And then you're getting them prepared, general warm-up, so they can do squats. And then you take them to the barbell and have them warm up with the bar. Eventually they get up to I like to work them up to like a 5 rep max or something, because, working at the gym I work at, we only have about 30 minutes, really 25 minutes, but a half an hour for a whole training session. That's very hard to get them through an effective workout in that short time, especially if that's like all they have and they don't do their homework. And it's just like, bro, you're not going to make much results, but oh well. So I work them up to a 5 rep max. You can't do a 3 by 5 in such a short amount of time. So 5 rep max, and then do a back down set of as many reps as possible, or a 10 rep max or something like that. So 5 rep max, and take off 20, maybe 30 pounds, then do as many reps as possible. And on a back squat, oh my god, that's crazy. So they get the max squat, the 5 rep max squat, which is going to drive strength adaptations in new lifters. Then the drop down set is also going to drive strength adaptations. Both of those sets done to failure are the best thing in such a short amount of time to drive muscle growth, strength adaptations, and the warm-up sets up to that 5 rep max will improve their squat form. And when you first start with people, you got to teach them their squat form, obviously. And then they're also getting a high-intensity glycolytic stimulus where they're like out of breath, they feel like they almost died. For most people, that back down set of as many reps as possible in squats is more than enough for them to be sore, for them to be out of breath, for them to feel like they've done their workout for the day, right? So you're maximizing their results, maximizing their feeling like they've gotten a workout, and you're teaching them something that they feel like they can't do without you, as and it takes such a short amount of time. Well, it shouldn't, but it's an easy way to get all of that shit done in the 25 minutes you have as a personal trainer. And then hopefully you have at least 5 minutes left. So you rush them over after you get them the squats done. Remember, we only have 30 minutes here. Take them over to, back to the training room or to the rower or something. Now you can get in some accessory movements, but do it in a superset where they're also getting that high-intensity interval training stimulus. So you got the strength training stimulus with the fiber at max. The back down set is for hypertrophy, strength, and that high-intensity interval conditioning that they really need to feel like they're actually getting something in, right? So now you could do like a circuit in the training room. Hopefully your gym has one, where you're doing lunges, body weight squats, superset that maybe with some ab work, and you take them through a circuit, 3 movements, whatever it is. Some trainers like to put a band around their clients' hips and have them do like crab walks or whatever, or side walks, to work the abductors. And then you could do like sit-ups with a ball. You could do a reverse lunge with a medicine ball into a rotation. Whatever it is, make sure that it's kind of in alignment with whatever barbell movement you did before, like the squat or whatever. But it's working different planes of motion, different movement patterns, and then it's also getting in like a high-intensity interval stimulus. So you're getting a novel thing in, with this. You could do all sorts of things. You could do different burpee variations, like using dumbbells, a burpee into like a seal row, into a squat and thruster. That's an insane workout. You do all sorts of crazy things. That's where you could use your BOSU ball stuff if you really want to, especially only have 5 minutes in. It doesn't really matter what you do after you get the squats in, as long as it's getting them to work, because you're burning calories and stuff like that. The squat's going to drive the majority of their strength, their bone growth, and all that other stuff. So if you only have 30 minutes to train a client, you've got to get really creative, and you've got to hit a lot of different markers in a short amount of time. And so preferably you have a whole hour. If you have a whole hour, that's way better. With a whole hour, we would do the barbell squat. We would do the warm-up, the general warm-up with burpees or whatever. Body weight squats. Goblet squats are best, especially if you hold at the bottom. Then we would get the squat variation done, work up to a 5 rep max, do the back down set. Then you could do a dedicated 10-15 minutes of accessories. Weighted lunges, weighted step-ups, get a Romanian deadlift in, some kind of hinge. And that'll take maybe 40 minutes to do the squat, do the lunges, do the Romanian deadlift. You're still kind of trying to rush it a little bit. Some people like to do antagonist supersets, where you superset a squat and a Romanian deadlift. Then, if you can fit all that in 40 minutes and you have a whole hour, in my gym it would be 55 minutes technically, then you have like 20 minutes so you can get some really hardcore high-intensity interval training in. So I'll take them to a rower, a Concept 2 rower, and I'll have them go max effort on the rower for 60 seconds, and then we'll do like 10 to 20 burpees, and then like 10 lunges on each side, and then 10 step-ups. And obviously you can do all sorts of variations. And so this is going to get more lunges, so more volume on the lunge movement pattern, more practice on that movement, more different types of exercises. And you're doing it in a circuit and fatiguing them so much that you're getting a fat loss stimulus. Now, this is extremely high intensity, and generally it's not necessary, I guess. And it's also, it puts them at risk of injury if you don't know what you're doing and you haven't put them through enough preparatory work. But it's very, very good for giving them that hardcore exercise that they feel like they need and that they're seeking training from. And especially if they're the type of person that doesn't do exercise in their spare time, like they won't do the homework you write for them even if they can. You're giving them such a hard workout in one day that they're still going to make some sort of progress. It's the most that you can do to get them to make progress if they're not already following a diet program, they're not already following, they're not following the other shit you tell them to do. that's the one thing you can do that will help them. So alright, so my recording software told me I can't record anything over an hour, so we're just going to call it there. You know, the summary of all of this is it's very hard to get people to adhere to anything. And so the protocol I just outlined is very, very intense and stuff, and it's not ideal. But as a trainer, you only have 30 minutes with a client at some gyms. These people feel like that there's certain things that clients need to feel like training's worth it. And no matter how ideal things are, we're not looking for what's ideal. We're looking for what is the most effective thing that I can do that will get this person to those results. And so when you think about things like adherence, you can't get them to do the perfect training shit a lot of times. But those clients that you can do, they're the ones who are going to get the best results. So you got to make the training novel, you got to make it effective, you've got to make it intense, got to make it fun, and that's what's going to keep them coming back. But if you do have a client who's willing to do all of the things, all the right things that you tell them to do, that person you can do a more structured scientific approach with. So anyway, I'm still learning, so, you know, but as an independent trainer, you're able to give them an hour or more. You know, you're able to take more time. You're able to do a lot more things. So I'll be making more videos about this in the future just because it helps me get my own thoughts together and stuff. If you like this content, let me know in the comments because it's a very long video and I feel like I'm just rambling. So let me know I'm not rambling in the comments. If you've actually watched this, let me know that you watched this whole thing. Let me know what you think. Let me know your own thoughts. And if you're a trainer, let me know what you do to help people. And I will talk to y'all next time.